Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I wanted to start by giving you a little bit of background because I might be a little different than some of the other speakers here. I come at money management from a completely different perspective, usually because actually my background is as a therapist. I've been a therapist that kind of specialized in working with trauma and addictions for most of my career. And one of the things I noticed was that I would see clients make really good progress dealing with their trauma. And then they would have a money trigger come up. Either the car would break down or there would be, some sort of financial crisis, and they would really regress back into old behaviors around addictions and stuff. And so I also had a nightmare relationship with money. So I started kind of looking at it from that perspective. And I thought, nobody really teaches us how to deal with the triggers around money and the heart work around money that makes us do sometimes like make poor decisions around money, or at least that was the case with me. So the angle I come at it from is from that, and you see that on the title here, clearing the emotional and spiritual baggage around your finances. So we are going to talk about debt, and we're also going to talk, I will start right off the bat in talking around different ways to deal with debt, because that's probably what you guys are most interested in. But then I'm going to kind of throw in some kind of fun things to help you shift your paradigm about debt, because part of my story was that I got out of debt and I went back into debt, got out of debt and I went back into debt. And I just kind of kept repeating that pattern until I dealt with some of the core beliefs about money and things like that, which we will get into in a minute. The other thing is that Brooke said she would be monitoring the chat for us because I have the slides up. I can't see the chat right now, but if you have questions, I am totally fine for you to unmute yourself and just go ahead and ask the question as we go. And I was telling Brooke that usually when I've done this for Money School, I do it pretty interactive. And since that's a little different on Zoom, hopefully if you guys ask some questions, we'll get the interaction that way. So does that sound good? All right. Awesome. So again, yes, my name is Noelle Schwantes. I'm with Change Your Story. And most often I work with female entrepreneurs, and I help them pursue their calling and their purpose by clearing baggage around men, money, and food. So those are the three areas I kind of specialize in. Those were the trifecta that almost took me out. And so that's what I focus on. So you'll hear a little strains of that probably in the perspective I bring to this. So, but let's go ahead and dive in. Oh no, it won't. My slides won't. This happened to me last year now that I think about it. Okay. We might just have to stop sharing for a second. All right. Are you guys going to be particularly upset if you can't see the slides? No? Okay. What I will do is I can send you the slides. Brooke, do you know, like, we did figure out how to make it work last year, but I can't remember what we did.
What is the issue? Do you know?
The slides won't forward.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it like they won't go forward whenever you're in like share screen mode? Is that what you mean?
Right. Yeah. It only stays on that kind of main screen.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to try. Do you guys mind bearing with me for just a second and see? There might be something else I can try real quick.
If all fails, you can email me the slides and I can send them out to everyone.
Okay. All right, let's try this one. Yay, that worked.
Okay, cool.
Okay. That must have been what I did last year. Okay. So debt. And you guys go ahead and type in the chat, and Brooke can kind of feed that to me. Is there any kind of debt question that you are really wanting to get answered tonight? So if there is something, go ahead and type it in the chat. And if I don't cover it, we can kind of come back to that. But I want to kind of get an idea of what you guys are dealing with, or what specific questions you have, because student loan debt is a little different than consumer debt, those sorts of things. All right, so these three options that I have on the screen right now are kind of the three main options there are if you're wanting to have a program to help you deal with a debt. So the first one is a debt management programs. Those are programs where you pay a monthly fee to help they help you manage it. So back in the day when my husband and I were drowning in debt, this is the option that we chose. I'm partial to this. It worked really well for us. Some things to keep in mind about this is that you will pay a monthly fee. So these are like basically what happened for us is that my husband got laid off just before our son was born. We didn't have insurance. We had 15 different doctors calling us and asking us / harassing us for payment. And it almost became a full-time job to keep up with all of them. And so what we did, and with a debt management company, there's lots of them out there. You want to make sure you work with a nonprofit, because there are people who take all your money to help you pay off your debt. So there are programs that are for profit. They charge you exorbitant fees. So you are going to want to look at a nonprofit. And one of the nice things about internet right now is that you can Google everyone and find out if they have good reviews. The company that we went with was Money Management International. And basically we gave them all the different bills. They contacted them, they negotiated a lower monthly rate, and we paid them a flat fee every month. And I think included in that was $50 for overhead and staffing that they needed to run their company. So my husband had a hard time finding a job, but with the help of this program, we actually were able to get out of debt instead of go in deeper. So debt settlement option is that you, like, say you have a credit card that's gotten out of hand and you have one lump fee, whether that be the stimulus check or you got a bonus at work or whatever that looks like. You can actually call the company directly and say, I can't pay the whole thing. Will you take X amount of dollars? And most of them will. So that is an option. Debt consolidation is taking out a loan to pay your creditors directly. I don't recommend that because you're just exchanging one form of debt for another. But those tend to be the three different options. And Brooke, has anybody posted anything about the type of debt they're dealing with?
Yeah, Audrey said high interest rates and what is the best route for that? That's the only one we've gotten so far.
Okay, that's a good question. Is that for, like, I'm going to assume that's for a credit card. So with those, you can call and say, I'm going to transfer my balance to another card, or you can lower my interest rate. So they're actually usually pretty open to negotiation. And then there are credit cards. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I get usually 5 credit card offers in the mail every day. So you can also find a credit card with no yearly charge, and many of them will give you a 0% interest rate on balance transfers. So that is also an option. So, and here's the therapist in me. I hate doing that kind of junk. I hate calling people. I've never balanced my checkbook in my life. Probably never will at this point. I mean, I do check on it, right? But so if this stuff is scary to you or you are uncomfortable, get some support. So find a friend who believes in you and that you can, one of the therapy things I recommend is bookmark it. If you're about to do something that's difficult for you, my friend and I call it putting on your big girl panties. Um, you bookmark it and you have your friend, you talk to them beforehand, just before you make the call, and let them help pump you up and get you ready. Make the call and then talk to them at the end and process how it went. So because, you know, for me anyway, there was a lot of shame around the debt load we carried. And so it was really terrifying to think of doing some of these things. And that was a bigger obstacle to me than actually, it turned out it was rather simple once once I realized and got kind of some things clear that way. So, all right, any questions about that?
We do have a couple more
Okay.
questions in the chat. Let's see. Hillary asked, once a debt goes to more than one debt collection agency, should you pay it? And then a second thing, this is a little bit different, but Emily is a high school teacher, and so she's wanting to get more information that she can share with her students about how to manage money.
Oh, okay. Okay, great question. So in terms of things, resources for students, there is a lady in town. She's probably one of the presenters, Jennifer, I forget her last name. I'm looking her up on Facebook real quick. Jennifer Harper. She is a certified financial planner in town here in Chattanooga. And I haven't talked to her for a while, but she used to have a nonprofit that focused on financial education for kids and students. So, and I don't know if you know Brooke, but she's usually a presenter for Money School. So, and I would highly recommend reaching out to her about that question. And then the question about once it goes to creditors, that's a pretty nuanced question. I would say a lot of that answer depends on you and your goals for the future. So if you ever want to, like, there are some people, like, say some people have had to file for bankruptcy. My first husband's father had to file for bankruptcy. He didn't really care because he just paid for cash for everything after that. So credit is important if you want to borrow more, or if you want to, if you want to start a business, or if you want to buy a house or a car or any of those sorts of things. It's interesting because today is actually a really big day for me. I took out a personal loan from a trainer to get some education. And then the trainer didn't do, and he didn't mean to renege on it, but the trainer didn't do everything he said he was going to do. And so a lot of my friends in the program were like, well, I'm not going to pay him. And they walked away. And I tend to approach things from a spiritual perspective. So I was talking to God and I said, do I need to pay this? Because it was a lot of money and he didn't do everything he said he was going to do. And I'm stuck holding the bag. And I felt for me that the spiritual direction was to go ahead and pay it. Well, today I paid it off. And like literally today. And I don't know if there's men on here, but I only see ladies' faces. I see 4 of you and you're all ladies. So I'm going to say ladies. So I paid it off today. And the funny thing that's happened is that they have seen me walk that out in integrity, and they have asked, they're hiring me to help be a trainer for that organization. And so I'm like, wow, this is one experience where debt really worked out for me. Because as a general rule, I don't use debt anymore. So I don't know if that answers your question because there's a lot of nuances to that. So that might be something at the end. I will give you my contact information. And if any of you want to kind of email me and ask maybe more specific questions, I'm totally open to that. So if that did not answer your question, contact me afterward or put it in the chat and we'll talk about it some more. So, okay. And now it's not going again. What?
Uh-oh.
Oh, poo. All right. So, Brooke, any questions while I fiddle with this?
We did have two from Hillary. I don't know, Hillary, if you want to wait and talk about that later. Okay. I mean, it's up to you.
Is she still thinking?
Oh, I think you're still muted.
I'm muted?
Oh no, Hillary.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, well, what I'm going to do next, we don't really need the PowerPoint for. So what I will go ahead and say now is if you go ahead and grab a pen and paper, if you don't have it already, or you can type it in your phone or computer, whatever. But I want you to, I'm going to shift a little bit and talk about, because which this is maybe a little strange that I spent just a few minutes talking about the practical parts of debt, and I'm going to talk about the psychological aspects of debt now for most of the rest of the time. And the reason I do this is because what I talk about now is what's going to keep you out of debt. It's not, and it has the capacity to not only keep you out of debt, it has the capacity to allow you to shift your mindset to wealth building, to pursuing your dreams, to building the life that you really want for yourself. So I want to use a little example here, and I want you guys to, and oh, you can even type it in the chat because I don't have screen share on, so I can see the chat right now. Write down 3 to 5 beliefs that come to mind around debt for you right now. So what are your beliefs about debt? And maybe type it in the chat when you've got that written down or you have them in your mind. You know what? I'm going to pause that too because I see these other questions and I want to go ahead and answer them because since they're around the practicality stuff. If your debt is with the IRS, you will never get out of it. But they're usually pretty good about setting up payments that you can afford. So bottom line, one thing that I would say is contact the people you owe. There are actually a lot of laws in place now that protect you, where you used to get harassed and shamed and people did horrible things to collect their debt. They can't do that anymore. In theory, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but in general, you're going to be treated okay. And a lot of them are just really happy when they have people with the integrity to contact them and work it out. So if you do have debt with the IRS, you just contact them and ask, I say, this is my situation, because most of us don't have a whole lot of money to put toward debt because we spend most of what we own. We spend most of what we have on our just feeding ourselves, right? And paying the bills. So in terms of paying credit cards off, a lot of people I've talked to have said to not close the accounts. What do you suggest? If you close the accounts, oh, I am glad this question got asked, because of those 3 things I said, they do impact your credit score. So debt settlement, Debt management negatively impacts your credit score at first because they're contacting all your creditors and they're asking to pay a lower rate. So you will see your credit score go down for a while. Again, your credit score matters if you're trying to buy a house or you want to start a business or anything like that where you might need to borrow money. So if you do the debt management program, but the cool thing about a debt management program is that once you get started and you start making those regular payments, your credit goes back up because your credit is improving because you're being consistent with payments. The other thing about a debt management program is you are required to shut down all your credit cards to do the program. And that's a big deal for some people because some people are, we had to really pull in and rein things in financially because we couldn't depend on that anymore. I'm super glad we did it that way. It was really good for us to learn to think differently about debts. And we still have credit cards now, but we pay as we go, right? And we learned those habits from working with a debt management company. So good question. Okay. And then somebody's asking about student loans. That's a really big question. There's a lot of different things that happen. I mean, that depends on what type of loans you have, whether they're private or government loans. So maybe give me a little bit more information about that so I answer that in a helpful way. Okay, so I think I'm kind of caught up on everything, all the questions except the student loans. And so Hillary has typed in some of her beliefs about debt. So the rest of you, give me a nod if you have your beliefs kind of in mind about debt, the beliefs that come to mind. Okay, great. So now I can't even advance the slide on my own. Holy smokes. I'm sorry, you guys.
What program is or did you figure it out?
Well, I can scan it for myself now. So, but I'm just not going to try to pull up the PowerPoint anymore. All right. So here's my therapeutic perspective coming in again. If those beliefs that you wrote down have any fear or shame connected to them, they literally weaken you. Okay, so one of the things that I do with this, when I do this exercise live, is I have people partner up. And one of the things you do with your partner is one will be A and one will be B, and A will hold their arms out and they will think about something that they feel really proud and good about. And then the person will try to push down your arms. And when you're thinking about something that's good, your arms stay strong. And then I have people think about some of the things they just thought about their debt. And if it is something that you feel ashamed about or fearful or guilty about, your arms will not hold their strength. I would strongly encourage you to find somebody in your house to do that with, because everybody's mouth always drops open. So basically the point of that being is we were not created to carry guilt or shame. It literally weakens the body. We were not meant to carry fear. And this is my spiritual background coming in. But that's partly why COVID is so dangerous, because we're all terrified and we've all lost our minds, right? Because we all get scared about it. Same is true for debt or anything else in your life. One of the first steps to dealing with it forever is to deal with your fear or shame around it. Because if you clear that, you may have some skills to learn how to manage it or navigate it, but it will not have control over you ever, ever again. And that's my guarantee to you. So I want you to look at your beliefs, and if they're fear or shame based, I want you to consider what might you need to do in order to shift those beliefs and change and fundamentally change your relationship with debt for you and for the generations that come after you when you do that. So it's a universal law that you get what you believe, right? It goes across all faith traditions. You hear karma, that we've all heard about karma, the law of attraction, or a mustard seed of faith. That concept crosses all faith traditions. And usually those things that you see are that are kind of, you see them in all different faith traditions, that's because they're like spiritual laws, right? Do you guys buy that? Like, some people look at me a little funny when I start talking like this. Okay, you guys are in with that idea, it sounds like. So what I want you to do is think about your beliefs about debt and what you wrote down, and what might your beliefs need to shift toward in order to really overcome debt for a lifetime. I believe, like, I tried Dave Ramsey, I tried Susie Orman, I read all the books and nothing shifted until I started looking at it from this angle. And now debt does not have a hold on me. Money doesn't have a hold on me. But looking at your beliefs based on what I've just said, do you think you'll be able to get out of debt with those beliefs in place? So you can put that in the chat or nod, or what do you guys think? Go ahead and type that in the chat. So the secret to getting out of debt and staying out goes beyond those programs, which are really great tools, but it becomes effortless when you fix the beliefs that cause the debt. I thought debt was a way of life. My parents used debt and were chronically in debt. And so I just thought that was the way it had to be. So when I started to question those beliefs, well, does it have to be that way? And when I started shifting some of those things, that was when things changed for me. So, okay, and here's where the PowerPoint would be really helpful. So I want to talk about some different resources that you can utilize depending on your certain situation. So you kind of got a sense of how I work with these sorts of things. So change your story. You can go to www.changeyourfinancialstory.com, and I do some low cost workshops. I do personal coaching, things like that. But right now, if you just want, if you're kind of intrigued by this idea and you want to stay in contact, go to my website and you can get a free ebook where I talk about from some of these concepts. I do come from like a biblical worldview. So I'm pretty good about not being preachy about it, and I'm pretty raw and real in that book. But just so you know, that's the angle that I come from. So I don't want you to be shocked if you go and download the ebook. My first book, Change Your Story, is about to be published, and that ebook, my publisher has told me, has to come down. So if you want the book, go grab it now, because it will not be free after a few weeks. So, and I'm also on Facebook. If you want to go, I have a Change Your Financial Story Facebook page. So, okay. So other resources. Primerica is a company, I think they're set up like multi-level marketing, which usually none of us wants anything to do with. But there is a man in town, there's a couple of guys in town, David Walters and Alan Darmody. Primerica does a free debt plan. And when we were first trying to get our feet under us around this, they met with us for free. They kind of found out like what all the situation was. And then they put together like literally a plan that's specific to your situation, and it's free. They helped us immensely. And I trust these guys. Like they have some integrity. They also helped us find really low cost insurance, because something that Primerica has, they compare all the different insurance companies. So we had our house insurance, we had our car insurance that we got through them. So I wonder if I can just type this in the chat. Does anybody want their names and numbers? I think I saw a nod. So I'll read it off. David Walters, his number is 423-499-3899. And his email is dwalters, WALTERS, @primerica.com, PRIMERICA.com. And I'll just give you his for now. Okay, another resource. This is something I also used. You can tell I had a really big problem with this since I've used all these resources myself. There are 12-step programs called Debtors Anonymous, based for people who are, because some people are compulsive around it. Compulsive spenders, compulsive debtors, which I was. So you can go to debtorsanonymous.org. If you just Google that, and the live groups are mostly in the bigger cities. I was going to those meetings when I lived in Los Angeles. I don't know of any that are local, but I kind of think most 12-step based programs have had to go virtual anyway because of COVID. So if you go to that website, debtorsanonymous.org, you can kind of look up online meetings. They had fantastic resources. Like if you were like, because sometimes people's lives were so out of whack, like their house was about to get foreclosed on, or like they were in some serious crises. They actually had, I forget what they called it, but they would actually have a group meet with you to help you, because like when the debt gets that bad, it's hard to see past the panic to what to do, right? And so they had some really good options for that. Okay, so I think that the rest, I just wanted to leave time for Q&A. I'm so bad with technology. Okay, thank you, Brooke, for typing all that in. And then I will go ahead and put in that debtors mess.org. All right, any questions, thoughts, anything that I didn't cover? I'm gonna go back in the chat. So, and how do you guys feel about unmuting yourselves and letting me see your shining faces and having some interaction? Nobody's super jumping on it, looks like. Okay. All right, what are your thoughts so far? How do you feel about this? Do you buy it? Do I need to make a stronger case for it? What are you thinking right now?
I have a question, please.
Okay.
Who did you say that you went through in order to get a better home and auto insurance quote from?
That was Dave Walters.
Was Dave Walters?
Yeah, yeah.
Did they compare with other insurance, and he just?
Well, part of I don't know what it is, because Primerica is actually a pretty big company, I think. What they did was they took down our information and they fed it into a program, and they have a program that compares, like they get multiple quotes for you, and then you just pick the quote you want.
Okay.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. All right. What are some other thoughts or questions? Oh, we're already at 37 minutes, so I guess I can just let you guys go too if you want. But I don't want to, I know this is a big deal, so I don't want to leave any questions unanswered if you had them. Okay, I want to give you guys somebody, so Tinia, how do you pronounce that?
Tenia.
Tenia. Okay, that's
Yes,
what my guess would have been. Okay, so Tenia, you talked about to continue to speak about debt not controlling you. So, okay, I'm prefacing this by saying this is kind of my spiritual therapeutic take on this.
yes, ma'am.
But I'm going to give you guys an exercise you can do on your own if you'd like. So my worldview believes, and this has worked for me pretty well. I believe that there was a creator that created me for abundant life and for peace, and that that's my birthright. That's what was planned for me. I also believe that the enemy, evil, whatever, Satan, whoever you want to call, but that there's evil in the world, there's darkness in the world, and that darkness does not want me to come into everything that I was created to be. That when we were put together, we were crafted with a purpose. We were crafted to perfectly pursue a calling and a purpose, and there was a problem we were meant to solve on the earth.
Okay.
And the enemy knows what that is, and he's made it his primary objective that I don't figure that out or pursue that. Right? And
Right.
debt is often one of the things, like debt and money problems was the reason I never could get into my purpose. Like when I was a kid and people asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I don't know, but I want to work for myself. Well, I didn't even know what the word entrepreneur meant, but I knew that was in me. So I'm rounding in on 50 soon. And it took me that long to figure out, like, why am I doing all these other things? I really was made for this. And part of that meant having to heal my heart around the beliefs I had about money. So here's a funny therapist trick. So are you guys right-handed or left-handed? Hold up whichever hand.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to call this your dominant hand. Okay, so if I was created for abundance and peace, and the enemy, darkness, evil, I'll just say the enemy for ease, does not want me to reach that, he lies to me. He tells me I'm not good enough. He tells me I'm bad with money. He tells me, how dare you? Who do you think you are to have big dreams? He lies to me. And the only thing that keeps me from moving into what I was designed for is listening to the lies. And nobody ever told me those are lies. Like, you were meant for more. You were meant for big things. You were meant for peace and to pursue your dreams and your callings, whatever, in whatever form that takes. So what I have found with myself and with my clients is whenever I'm not in peace, it's because I'm believing a lie.
Okay.
And it might be a lie your family has told you. It might be a lie your culture has told you. We get those lies from a lot of different places, but I think they originated in one particular place personally, right?
Right.
So with your dominant hand, you can write down, and I still use this exercise when I'm stuck. If I'm in an emotional funk about something and I don't know how to sort through it, I use this exercise. You write with your right hand the question you would want answered. Like, what lie am I believing about debt?
Okay.
That keeps me in my cycle. Then you switch the pen to your non-dominant hand and you write whatever thought comes to mind.
Okay.
So that's a full thought. So whatever thought triggers, when you put the pen in your non-dominant hand, you write it down. You look like third grade chicken scratching. When you're done writing that, you switch the pen back and you write whatever full thought comes to mind. You do that until you feel like you come to the end, until you're done. It will look like a conversation between two people. Usually the dominant hand looks like a younger person, like a more vulnerable, innocent person. Every
Okay.
time I do this exercise with people, they cry. I have hardened people who are not used to expressing emotion break down. So know that you will get some surprising results from doing this exercise. For those of you who that feels too weird and heebie-jeebie, basically you're just accessing different parts of your brain.
Okay.
So writing with the dominant hand accesses a part of the brain that you're not normally used to thinking with. I also think this is a spiritual exercise. Because getting clear of lies, the lies that culture tells you, the lies that, you know, a lot of us come from abusive families, abusive homes, whatever your trauma, your personal pain has been, whoever lied to you, this can help clear that out. Now, that part of the exercise usually makes people sad because you just see all the things that have held you back, all the beliefs that has held you back. So don't stop there. The next, when you're done with that section, the next thing you want to do is you want to ask, what are the truths about me? What's true about me? And do it with those opposite hands again. And start, if you do nothing else from this, if you take nothing else from this workshop tonight, write down those truths and you'll feel them in your zinger, right? You'll feel them in your body. Write down those truths and keep them in front of you and start to choose to focus on those rather than all those messages that have kept you trapped.
Okay.
And if that's all you do, you're going to see some changes in your relationship with money.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
I usually make people pay for that workshop. So we're throwing that out as freebie.
Thank you for that freebie.
You are very welcome. Did that make sense?
It does, because you know I what I was going to write down was debt. My belief is debt. I will always be in debt. That's my belief, and I don't want to believe that. I don't want to be in debt. I don't. You know, I don't want it, because it's like a burden. It's like a big old a huge weight, and you're carrying this every day. And when I started paying off my credit cards, they're at a low balance, but it felt good to get this, get this weight off of you. I mean, it's like I'm carrying around $2,000, $3,000 worth of weight. And I don't need any more weight on me.
Yeah. Well, this is really good timing then, because if you've got that almost paid off, if you dig into getting these beliefs cleared up, then you won't have to get under it again. Because I've paid off debt a bunch of times, and I kept going right back out because I had that same belief. Well, I'm going to just have to be in debt to manage my life.
Exactly. And I don't want to feel like that anymore. I just want to get it off, and I want it to, be gone and, not be a burden. It's a burden.
Yeah,
to be
it sure is. It sure is. Yeah. So
but thank you. That was good. I like
thank
that.
you
I'll
for
do
your
that
question.
exercise.
Good. And you guys, if you get on, email me. Did I give you my email? I want to hear how this exercise goes, or if you get stuck. Let me see here. I'll put my email in here. Noelle at changeyourfinancialstory.com. So, all right. I think we're kind of, Brooke, where are we on time? Do we need to wrap up, or do we have some more time for Q&A if anybody has them?
I mean, the class technically goes until 7, so if people have some more questions, we do have some more time. I have one other thing for everyone to do before we wrap up, but it's super quick. It's just a 10-question poll. So if people still have questions, feel free to ask them for the next couple more minutes.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I have a comment. I want to thank you for your transparency, because number one, it is a burden. Number two, we have an obligation. I think that burden is not always intentional, but sometimes it can be an embarrassment. So I just want to thank you for your transparency.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Yeah. I kind of feel like most of the things and that's true for all of us, right? Most of us want to help heal wounds around the things that have been wounds for us, So, and that was a big one for me. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I will give it back to Brooke. Thank you guys for your time, and grab that email or get the free ebook and stay in touch, because I'd love to know how things are going for you.